I have to admit that I'm not much of a world traveler, having only been outside the United States just a handful of times in my life. But I do have a list of places that I'd love to visit, and Scotland is high on that list. I think it's a fascinating country with a rich culture and history and a terrific accent. Today on Game On Video Reviews, we'll be taking a look at a game that's set in medieval Scotland at a time when the land was ruled by powerful clans with names like MacLeod and McInnes. But really, this game is all about shrewd buying and selling combined with smart tile placement. So go ahead and get your kilt on and let's take a trip to the Isle of Skye. In Isle of Skye, you're going to be purchasing and laying down a kingdom of tiles in front of you. And then you're going to be scoring those tiles and getting points for them based upon scoring tiles that are on this main board. The game is played over either 6 or 5 rounds, depending on the number of players. 2 to 4 players is 6 rounds, and then there's another side of the board that's 5 rounds for 5 players. And then you have this stack of scoring tiles, which are going to shuffle up and randomly put 4 into these spots at the beginning of the game. So these are going to be your 4 different scoring conditions, and it's variable with every game. And at the end of each round, you're going to score 1 or more of these scoring tiles. So you can see that at the end of round 1, you're going to score tile A, end of round 2, score tile B, end of round 3, score A and C, and so forth and so on through the course of the game. So you'll set up these tiles. Also at the end of the game, money is going to be worth some points, and then you'll have some scrolls that are on your tiles that might be worth points as well. We'll talk about those in a minute. So let's take a look at what a game round looks like in Isle of Skye. So each player will get a player's shield that corresponds to their particular clan and color. They'll also get a starting tile that is their color, that's the start of their kingdom. It has their castle in it. And then they'll also get an axe tile. Players don't start out with any money, but they will get money during the very first step of the game, which is income. A round in Isle of Skye consists of 6 steps, and the first one is income. You're going to look at your kingdom on the board, which starts off with just 1 tile, and you're going to get 5 coins for your castle tile. And then you'll also get additional coins for connected tiles that you've played in previous rounds that have this barrel symbol on them and has a coin value on it. And you're going to get that for any of these barrel symbols that are connected to your castle by a road. So in this case, I would get an additional 1 coin for having that castle there. Now this one I might have connected from a previous turn, because these terrain types match. We'll talk about that in a second. But this coin right here, this road does not connect to the castle, so I would not get that coin for this particular income phase. I would get 6 coins for this income phase. So everyone's going to collect their money, and then you'll move on to the second phase, which is drawing tiles. So the second step in the round is drawing tiles and setting prices. The game comes with this big bag full of tiles, and you're going to draw 3 of them out of the bag and then pass it to your opponent. And you're going to lay those out in front of your player's shield. These are the tiles that are going to be available for purchase from you this particular round. So then you're going to set prices for each of these tiles that you have drawn, and you're only going to be setting prices for 2 of them because you have this axe token, and every round you're going to select 1 of your 3 tiles to be discarded. So, and you just put it behind your shield here. Let's say you wanted to discard this one in the middle. You put that behind your shield. And then for the other 2 tiles, you're going to set a price. It has to be at least 1 coin, but it can be as many as you want, or as many as you have. Because the interesting thing is that you can only set prices based upon the amount of money that you have in your possession. So let's say that I want to make this one 2 and make this one cost 1 gold. So I would set those behind my shield. And then after everybody has set their prices, they will reveal their shield and we'll show the prices for those. And then you would discard the tile that has the axe token on it. And that would leave you with 2 tiles in front of you to be purchased by other players. So then starting with the start player, each player will have an opportunity to purchase a tile from an opponent. And so you can look around the market and kind of see which tiles that opponents have might be attractive to you, and then you will pay that opponent whatever amount of money they have set as the price. So if an opponent had purchased this tile, you'd pay 1 coin and then would take the tile, and then that player who was selling it would be able to take back both of these money back into their hand. After every player has had an opportunity to purchase a tile, if there are any tiles left over in front of you, then you have to purchase them yourself. And you're going to purchase them with the money that you had put down to set the price. So you then just spend that money, and now you get to take this tile into your possession. And then you'd move on to the phase of actually placing those tiles in your kingdom. Rules for tile placement in this game are actually very simple because there's only 3 terrain types on the tiles. There's water, grass, and mountains. And the only rule is that you have to match up those terrain types. The roads don't really matter except for connecting to the castle to be able to get that additional income. So for example, this tile here, if I placed it like this, then it would connect the road, it would be the correct terrain type, and it would connect the road so that I would be able to get this barrel for the additional 1 money during the income step. But if I wanted to, I could choose to place it over here and have these 2 mountains line up, even though the road does not line up and it gets broken. That's okay because the terrain types line up. So each player will then take all the tiles that were in front of them that they purchased, either from another player or had to purchase on their own. So it'll be anywhere between 0 and 3 tiles, and they will place them onto the board into whatever configuration works as long as they follow all the placement rules. And then after everyone's placed their tiles, you'll move on to the scoring phase. So here's an example of some of the scoring tiles. This one will give you 1 point for every sheep that's visible in your kingdom. This one, you're going to look at your kingdom and see how many 4-block squares exist, and you'll get 2 points for every 4-block square. This one, you're going to look at boats that are in the water spaces on your board, and whoever has the most of those gets 5 points, second most gets 2 points. If there's a tie, then both players get the full amount. This one's similar, but it's about money. Whoever has the most money gets 5, whoever has the second most money gets 2. And that's at the end of the round after you've bought and sold things. And then this one, you're going to look at completed water areas that are on your board, and you're going to get 2 points for every square in your completed water area. So those are just some of the examples of the scoring tiles. Like I said, there's a wide variety of those, and you'll score the appropriate ones, and then that'll be the end of the round. So at the end of the round, you'll take the start player marker and pass it on to the next player, and then you'll begin another round with the income phase. Now, I wanted to point out that there's an interesting catch-up mechanic that begins in round number 3. You'll see this 1 coin here, and then 2, 3, and 4. Starting in round 3 here, you're going to look at what position you are on the score track, and you're going to get that much money for every player that's ahead of you. So in this case, in addition to his regular income, the red player is also going to get 1, 2 additional coins because there are 2 players that are in front of them. And this will increase as the rounds go on. So if this were to continue onto the 6th round, then the red player now would get 8 additional coins for being in last place. So that's an interesting way to get more money and more buying power and selling power in this game. So the game will continue for 6 rounds, and then you'll move on to final scoring. So like I said, at the end of the game, every 5 coins is going to be worth 1 point. And then you're going to look on your board at any scrolls that might be present on your board. In this case, this scroll says that you get 1 point for every 2 sheep that are present in your kingdom. So you'll just look at the number of sheep that you have. In this case, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And this player would get an additional 3 points for those sheep. Now, one other thing to keep in mind is that if a scroll exists within a completed location, now in this case, this green area is not completed because that side right there and that side right there aren't completed or rounded off areas. But if it was, then this scroll would be worth double points. So if you're able to get a scroll into a completed location, double points for that. So you'll score your scrolls, you'll score your money, and then you'll look at the score on the track, and whoever has the most points is the winner of Isle of Skye. On the front of the rulebook for Isle of Skye, it says that this is a tile placement game. But that's kind of misleading because at its core, this is a game that's about price setting and about smart economic decisions. And really the main choices that you're making in the game have to do with that price setting. You're essentially going to have 2 kinds of tiles in front of you when you pull those things out of the bag. You're going to have tiles that you really want because they're going to get you the most points based upon how your board is. And you have tiles that you really don't care about that you want to get rid of and make as much money as possible. So when you're setting prices for tiles that you really like, and that you really want, you want to set the price high enough that it's going to be unattractive to the other players, but at the same time you don't want to set it so high that the benefit you're going to get from it in points is kind of out of balance. You want to make sure you get a good return on your investment. On the other hand, tiles that you don't really want, you want to get rid of those, so you want to set them low enough so that people will want to buy them, but you want to set them high enough so that you get enough of a benefit in money out of it. So I think it's just a fascinating sort of balance of things that you're trying to figure out in setting those prices. And so that's, I think, the main element of the game. Because as far as the tile placement part of it goes, you've probably already made the decision about where you're going to put your tile before you even buy it, or at the point when you buy it. So it's not so much about tile placement. There's a little bit of that with the way that the scoring cards work. Now, one thing I really like about this game are the variable scoring cards that are going to be different every game. So you get a lot of replayability. It's going to be a different game every time. Plus, over the course of those 6 rounds, when you have the different cards that score during different rounds, I think that makes it very interesting because it's going to sort of guide your strategy and point you in a particular direction of how you want to build your board. So again, I talk about this a lot where I love games that have relatively simple rules but have good strategic depth. I think Isle of Skye is a great example of that. It's not a long game. I think even with a full complement of players, it's going to take maybe 45 minutes, an hour if you've got a lot of people making agonizing over their decisions, but it's pretty quick. So I think it's a lot of fun, and the production on it is very, very good. Sometimes with Mayfair Games, the production quality of their components may be a little bit lacking. It's a little bit spotty. But since this is one of the, I think this is one of the Lookout games. Yep, it's one of the Lookout Games presentations, and those are usually pretty good. And I do love the artwork that's on the tiles and on all the pieces. So, one other thing that I think is really good in the game is the kind of catch-up mechanic where you're going to get additional money during the income phase if you're farther back on the track. Money is not, primarily worth points, but it's really the mark of power in this game, because the more money you have, the more buying power that you have to be able to get the tiles that you want to get those points. So I think it's a very, very well done design, and I would highly recommend it if you're looking for kind of an economic game. Don't be fooled, it's really more economic than it is tile placement, but this is a fantastic one, Isle of Skye.